Brandon Benefield, Gerard Bonner, and Diana Michelle.
What's going on, everybody? It's that time of the week. It's Friday. You know what that means. It's time for the SHW Podcast. This is our wrestling. I'm B-double Brandon Benefield, joined by the beautiful Diana Michelle. And, of course, MIA this week is the great GB Gerard Bonner. And, of course, if you guys remember last week, we had that tech glitch that kind of affected the whole world. And if you were traveling at the time, you may have gotten stuck at an airport, stuck in a city, trying to get home. Well, such is the case with our very own Gerard Bonner. Got stuck in Las Vegas, was supposed to be back Monday, got delayed a few days, and so he's still trying to get home. But we wish him the best, and we'll see him again next week, I'm sure, right here on the podcast. But
sure, I don't know. Would that be a bad thing to get stuck in Vegas?
Well, that's true.
Maybe.
There's probably worse places, I imagine.
Probably worse places, yeah.
But
we miss him.
We do miss him, but with him being gone, what about you, Diana? How's your week been?
Man, it's just another week. It's been like forever since Southern Honor, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
I am actually over it.
Totally over it. I'm like, is this going to be the week? No, we got 2 more weeks.
We're 2 weeks away. We're getting closer
2 more weeks.
And closer. 2 more weeks for the Rumble Jack, August 9th at the Action Building, 261 Marriott Road, Canton, Georgia. Tickets go on sale the night of the show at the door, 5 p.m. Doors open at 7, bell time at 8. We can't wait for it. We've been talking, we text and message each other all the time. And so we're always just constantly talking about it and excited about it. We know there's been, I don't know, maybe 17 or 18 entrants that have been announced at this point. We did find out earlier that this is going to be the biggest Rumble Jack ever at 40 entrants. So
where
that
are these 40 people going to be in the middle of all this chaos?
I don't know. But that means that we've had almost half have been announced. We may have a couple of more prior to August 9th in the next couple of weeks. Maybe. I don't know.
I hope so. I mean, it's 2 weeks away. We got to.
But that means that we're going to have a lot of unknowns. A lot of unknowns. And we say every show that you never know who's going to show up, especially at the Rumble Jack. So,
which is one of my favorite parts of the Rumble Jack, because you never know what's going to come out or who's going to come out, and just sitting there waiting on the next, the numbers to count down and for the next music to hit. You're just like, who could it be? And there's so many people it could be that are not like currently signed or on a major promotion that possibly could come out to. I mean, why not? We've had so many stars at SHW before. You never know. I mean,
you just never know.
Keep an eye out.
That's what's so exciting. It's the most unpredictable night of our year, and it's almost here, the 6th annual Rumble Jack. If you saw earlier this week, Gerard and myself put out a couple of videos highlighting the past winners of the last 5 years, as well as some of the big surprises over the past 5 years. So it's just gotten me more and more excited going back through the footage of the last 5 Rumble Jacks, and I just absolutely can't not wait. But one of the guys that has been announced for the Rumble Jack is our very special guest tonight. I'm kind of giving you a little hint here with the shirt from Kind Punk, and of course,
I should have worn mine.
Well, that's all right. It's all right. You model a lot of his shirts, as a matter of fact.
I do.
So you do,
and
have a
I
lot
will
of his
do
shirts.
more.
But he has, since the last time he's been on this podcast, has made quite a name for himself in the deathmatch world.
Yes.
And we've seen him have a few of those matches at Southern Honor. Had a crazy match last year at Still Here 5 with Sunny Days, which stole the show. DDP was guest on commentary for that one, and it was awesome. But anyways, he's our special guest. Of course, we're talking about the Killbilly, Nathan Mowery. And without any further ado, let's check it out. Well, we know him as one of the kindest punks around, but when he steps inside the squared circle, he is the Killbilly, the one and only Nathan Mowery. My man, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Living life, just enjoying it. All things are good.
Fantastic.
I see no bandages. I see no scars showing right now.
Yeah, I mean, the last scar that I had, because I don't know if you can tell, but actually I super glued my elbow, and this is that you don't need to have stitches if you have crazy glue.
This is true. I've actually taken my kid to the doctor where they glued his chin instead of stitching it. So yeah, just keep that in your tackle box there, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big believer in that. So if you're out there, you could save so much money. We don't have the best healthcare.
Money.
It costs $12 instead of like $5,000. So
And in your line of wrestling, that is very important.
Yes, indeed. So
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so not only have you been making waves in the deathmatch scene over the last couple of years, you are all a member of Coven of the Goat, along with
Mhm.
Tank and Reverend Dan. We've seen you come through SHW a few times. Obviously, you're one of our camera guys at SHW, so we've seen you since 2018 when the company started. But as far as part of Coven of the Goat and bringing your deathmatch craziness to Southern Honor, we've seen that a few times as well. But I was thinking, try to trek back to when we first had you on the podcast, and it has been quite a while. And I think at that time you were talking about just getting into just starting to train and all that kind of stuff, and all these aspirations you had as a deathmatch wrestler. And what a difference a couple of years makes. I mean, you've been all over the place. You've had so many matches at this point. You've done a great job of keeping tabs on the Southern Honor fan group page and kind of letting
Yeah.
everybody see some of your matches and some of the other places you've been working. But for those fans that haven't been on that page but are watching this podcast, kind of give us a rundown. Where have you been? What have you been doing? I mean, we know what you've been up to, but let the fans know.
it's like obviously, if anybody's ever talked to me for more than 5 minutes, they'll know that I'm just such a huge fan of deathmatch wrestling. It's been something I've been in love with since being a kid. I've always been drawn to just dangerous activities and fast-paced like ways of going, and like when last time I was on the podcast, I was really just getting started. I probably didn't have but like probably 10 matches under my belt, and now I'm probably closer about 60, I think. So I've definitely bumped up the numbers, and I've been, up and down the East Coast. I've been in wrestled in Detroit and Las Vegas and New Jersey. I had the very first legally sanctioned death match in Alabama. Like I've wrestled for ICW to Holds Barred and XPW and like all these other like bigger like death match companies that I was like a fan of. So it's cool because I attended some of these shows as a fan, and now like a lot of people have enough faith in me to put me like on the show. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a really cool experience. And yeah, I've went through a lot of super glue.
So, okay.
That's pretty.
We also know you've already been announced as an entrant into the Rumble Jack, and we're going to talk about the Rumble Jack in a little while. But first, as you just touched on where you've been, what you've been up to. But I want to get into a little more depth at some of these matches you've had. Now, Gerard and I have had the pleasure of calling some of your matches, and fans, I'm telling you, if you haven't, go on the Killbilly's YouTube channel because he's got a lot of his matches on there, and some of this stuff will just blow your mind. I mean, we were just shocked calling the action because it's stuff we've never witnessed before. And that's not really my scene. I have nothing against it, just never really been into it. And seeing some of the craziness you've gotten into has just blown my mind. So I highly recommend, if you're curious at all, go and check out Nathan's YouTube channel. But can you name, and I know you've done so many crazy stunts and crazy matches and all this, but can you name perhaps the scariest thing you've ever done where it just, you even thought maybe this is too much or maybe I've gone too far? Has that ever happened to you?
I wouldn't say scared because I don't really get scared that easy, but like as far as just like going too far with stuff, yeah, I've definitely have done that. I think I was literally just thinking about it. Like I was sitting on the back porch. So up in Knoxville, Tennessee, I wrestled this woman named Sarah Dox in a barefoot death match. And
Mm.
so, like I look at like there's wrestling, there's deathmatch wrestling, and then there's like barefoot deathmatch wrestling, which is like a niche of a niche of a niche. And a lot of people are like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do." Like people are like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do the deathmatch shit," and then deathmatch wrestling was like, "Nah, I ain't gonna do the barefoot thing." So it almost felt like a challenge where I was like, "Ah, see what it's about." And
The
I
elite.
it was just the worst because, like, when you are in a death match and you get sliced up or whatever, it's on your forehead or arms, your back. Most of the time, you're not going to like really, feel it that much. Sometimes your shirt will agitate it, but when you just have so many cuts on the bottom of your feet, you feel it every time you take a step. And so, the ending of the match is she got a bunch of syringes and started sticking syringes into my foot. And what I did was like, okay, I want to get like a good shot of the syringes in my feet. So I lift my foot up, and when I do, the syringe wiggled a big hole in the bottom of my foot. And so, which caused me, and there was just there was like pine cones, broken glass, thumbtacks, Legos, and Legos hurt way more my feet than I thought. And then a bunch of glass got up in my foot, and my foot healed with glass inside. So for like a month and a half, my foot was rejecting glass, and it was just the most painful recovery period that I've had thus far. Other than that, I'm a pretty tough cookie, so nothing really bothers me too bad. But that was definitely the most miserable like recovery time for sure.
I can imagine you just going through all that and then deciding, hey, let me go get a pedicure and see if I can get some relief, and then sticking your feet into these people's faces, all these glass pieces hanging out of them, and they're just like, what in the hell is going on?
I had a thing.
You should have done that, actually. That would have been fun.
I really should have
document it. Yeah.
Yeah. How I take care of my feet.
Hell yeah. I went to because like after a month it ended up getting like infected. This is kind of gross.
Right.
But, like I went to the doctor, and then like they were like, "Hey, how did you get all these cuts on your feet?" And just trying to explain that to like a normal person,
There's no way.
you just look like a serial killer to them. And they're just like, I'm just like, yeah, like a deathmatch wrestler. We just do all this extreme stuff, and it's pretty crazy. And they're just not getting it. So like, they're like, what? Why?
And you have to pull out the YouTube channel and show them like matches and stuff.
Oh yeah, sometimes I'll show that, and there'll be one or two things. Either people are really excited and think it's awesome and badass, or people think I'm the dumbest human being of all time. But it's a toss up. I get it's a pretty polarizing activity to be involved in. So.
So just tell me, what's in your ring bag? Like, other than like your whatever you're going to get bloodied up for the night, what do you carry as far as? Yes, I want to see. Do you have like alcohol peroxide or
Yeah, I got
bandages? Yep.
Mousetrap. You gotta stay prepared. We got tape. I got like a thing of salt because I want to pour salt on someone's open wound soon. Actually, I need to pack this bag, but yeah, I carry.
Well, I was actually thinking more to keep you from being infected and to bandage yourself up. What is your, what is, you have to have this, or does it even matter? Yeah, just drive home bloody.
Yeah, my go-to is usually after a match, I'll just see if I have any bad cuts, and alcohol wipe, just cleaning it out really good. I do take care of my scars. There's a lot of death matches that just don't glue themselves up or clean themselves up, and they just go on, don't even take a shower, and that's like not a way to be.
You can get really, infected areas and craziness.
Yeah, I don't want that.
No.
Also, that was just kind of fun.
Are we cutting like turkeys or something? What's up?
Yeah, I use this as a weapon. So this has been like.
I see.
So I've been just like tapping it against people's heads. It's a really easy way for people to bleed. But I just saw that laying there. I wanted to show that. But yeah, as far as bag goes, I have a bunch of like this, like gels and stuff that kind of help clean things, and big on butterfly like bandages. So,
yes.
So it's usually what happens if I get a cut, like my elbow, like I fought Dr. Adacted in Knoxville, and I got a big gash on my elbow.
Right.
So I just put glue, squish it together, and then put the butterflies on, and then just disinfect it, and then leave it on for a few days and take it off, and then the glue will hold it, and then it heals. So my elbow looks just as like
that's awesome. I mean, that glue's great. You probably should learn, if you don't know how to do a stitch though, and just get you a kit.
Yeah, I've
never know.
Definitely, that would be a skill that would greatly come in handy.
Yes, it would.
I don't remember how long ago this was, Nathan, but I do remember keeping tabs on you and being kind of worried when you were losing a ton of blood during one of the matches. You ended up having to go to the hospital. When was that? How long ago was that? And then can you kind of walk us through like the whole night, like just what all happened?
Yeah. If there's people listening that don't know who I am, they're probably thinking the biggest idiot of all time. And they have every right to believe that. So I don't know if you're familiar with Brad Cash. Do you know Brad Cash by chance?
Yes, yep. He's psycho.
Yeah, so I love Brad Cash. So he's kind of like Brad Cash is kind of like that middle part between like Tank's generation, my generation, and Brad Cash was like that middle like gap. So I've always really liked Brad Cash, and he took a liking to me. I met him at Southern Violence and Wrestling early last year, and he like we just hit it off. He really saw that I was passionate about it, and he held a tournament called Brad Cash Suicide King Tournament. And was that he brought in a bunch of deathmatch guys that were up and coming that haven't been a part of a deathmatch tournament yet. So I was one of these people, and I was in the first round match against this girl named Lily, and the match was, it was okay. Like, but what happened at the very end? She she took a weed whacker to my nuts. That was fun. But good times. But what happened was after the match, I was laying on the ground and she just had a light tube. And so she just hit me with the light tube when I was on the ground, and I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't see her with the tube. I wasn't sitting in a way that I needed to be sitting. And so it lacerated me pretty bad. And it's like, I don't know if you could see, but like you can see some scars like on my tattoos, and then I have like a huge cut like on my arm. I don't know if you guys could see it or not, but it's like right there. But
I remember the pictures and the videos.
Yeah. So what happened was like I looked down, I'm like, oh, I'm bleeding pretty good. I rolled the ring, and then I raised my arm up, and then it was just like turning a water bottle upside down. Like it was just gushing out, and I was like, oh, I gotta go.
That ain't good.
And then we're out in the middle of like this field, like in Knoxville. And then like there's another wrestler named Danny Only. I don't know if you know Danny Only or not.
He's been in the Rumble Jack before.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I like Danny Only. He's cool people to me. But he was like a field medic like in the army. So he was able to like quickly make a tourniquet that's keep me from bleeding out. So he like he just happened, he like got like some like rag or whatever, and he was just taping my arm. He's like, raise your arm up, drink this juice, keep fluids in you. So it was me, Michaela, my manager Bombshell. We're all driving to the hospital, and I'm just like, Michaela, take a photo, like film some of this. But she's so shaken up, more freaked out than I am. Poor girl.
Of course.
I stress her out. But she's super supportive of it. But like there's a photo of me and my manager Bombshell where I'm just like in the back seat with my arm up, and my car to this day just has blood prints.
Yeah.
Then we roll up to the hospital, and I walk in, still in my wrestling gear, just covered in blood, just pissing blood out my arm. Walk into like the hospital, and people in the lobby are just like freaking out, cover their mouths. There's children just mortified.
Freaking horror film walking through the door.
And I'm like, what's up, guys? I'm like still I'm like just like making jokes about it. And they're just like, yo, did you get stabbed at the Volves game? Like, that's what they thought. I got stabbed like brutally. And I'm like, nah, dude, I'm just an idiot. And yeah, they take me to the back, and then they stitch up, give me a bunch of stitches. I think it was like, I want to say like 36 stitches altogether. So then I was in the hotel bed, and I was like, Michaela, can you get the camera up? And then I cut a promo on Cruel, and then the following Saturday I wrestled Cruel at an outlaw biker rally and reopened my scars like a moron.
Yeah.
Right back to the hospital. That's the life of the Killbilly, and I love it.
That's what Cruel will do to you. I mean, I was gonna ask you, I couldn't remember. I was gonna ask how long was it before you got back in the ring, but then now that you mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, it was only like a week later that you had the Cruel match.
Yeah, it was that match with Lilith happened on a Saturday, and they're like, all right, we'll take your stitches out 7 days from now. I'm like, perfect, because I have a match next Saturday. And so they take my stitches out. I literally go from the hospital into my car, drive straight to the biker alley. Me and Cruel have this match, and it's just a wild match. We all know how crazy Cruel is. So it's like, turns out like probably should have had a little bit more time before I got back in the ring, because Cruel's a big man. It's like fighting Jason Voorhees, so it was pretty nuts. And like what essentially happened, like we had the match. He puts me through a big flaming table. The biker's having a good time. We're all in the ring. I'm like, cool, I survived. I take my elbow pad off, and then I just realized it got reopened, and I was like, great. So I had to go back to the hospital. and I was like, "Hey, remember me?" So that was fun.
Oh, so it was the same hospital. I was wondering what part of town you were in, if it's a different state or what.
Yeah, there's like a hospital that's like 5 minutes away from my house, so I just went straight back to the same hospital.
What did they say when you went back?
They were, yeah, they
Run
were
a tab.
what?
Run a tab because
Yeah.
he's gonna be a frequent flyer.
Where everybody knows your name. It's like Cheers, but for Nathan, it's a hospital.
Nathan.
They're like,
Yeah,
Killbilly.
What up? What do we do tonight?
we got your hospital.
Glass or knives?
Exactly. The first time I went, I lied because I didn't want because it's just easier to like get seen if it feels more like an accident. So like the first time I got cut here. All my cuts are on this arm for some reason. I got cut pretty bad. And my first regular match, like it wasn't even a death match. I just ended up like nicking myself like really bad. And I ended up bleeding. And I just told them, I was like, yeah, I was just opening boxes and actually got myself with a box cutter. And they were like, okay. It was just easier to explain instead of just,
Like,
what
this guy's so clumsy. He
Oh
keeps
my
coming
god!
back.
You should probably change jobs or something.
At any point, do they get to go to Michaela and just be like, all right, what's going on?
You-
What's going on at home?
right? Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, like call the law on her. She's
Yeah.
abusive.
so it's funny because Michaela,
Anybody who knows Michaela knows she is not abusive. She's the sweetest soul ever.
oh yeah. Yeah. For the record, Michaela does not cut beer.
Yes, for the record.
The best. So
I'm on here spreading rumors. Everybody's gonna be like, oh my
No,
god, what's going
That's
on?
my girl.
yeah, she rules. I love her. Yeah.
She does.
And she's like the reason like I kind of like got like pursued it because like when I started going to the Nightmare Factory and everything for a good while, then COVID happened, and then I just kind of lost momentum on it, and then I was really bummed out, and then Michaela was like, "Hey, you were really happy when you were pursuing wrestling," so. And she bought me a cameo from Nick Gage, and it was just Nick Gage just hyping me up, being like, "Yo, go train, go wrestle, chase your dream," kind of thing. And I got fired up, and then yeah, I went back into training and went to the Nightmare Factory for a little bit because I was training with Luther, but then Luther moved to Florida, and then I met Jimmy Wang Yang, and he started teaching me over the past year, how to do, actual wrestling. Because I think like to be a good deathmatch wrestler, you have to be a good wrestler first. So that's the thing.
Lovely.
Yeah, because like deathmatch kind of gets a bad rep because there's a lot of just idiots out there. There is technique and there is a way to go about doing all the stunts and all the moves and stuff without actually killing. I know I'm like laughing and joking about it because it is high risk. So of course there's going to be times where it goes south no matter how safe you are because you're literally playing with fire and like shit happens. So, but having a good foundation, a good base, understanding like the basic match structure and the psychology that goes into that. Like deathmatch wrestling is just good wrestling with items in the way. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
Yeah, I got you now.
Now-
Oh, go ahead, Diana.
I want to hear the story you were talking about on Bad Taste with Carly and Nick. I like to call him Nick. About the bus on, was it a bus that was on fire or you were locked into a
Yeah. So that was it was an RV and
RV?
yeah, Brandon and JB actually called that match. And one of my favorite things about them when they
Oh,
called,
y'all, I didn't know that.
yeah, they weren't there. I gave them the footage afterwards.
Right.
Whoa, kayfabe, brother. Whoa.
They were there.
We
He
were
was
ringside.
right outside. What are you talking about?
They let me just burn it. They didn't do anything. They just kept running commentary. True
Just
pro.
running.
I'm
They
a
didn't get
pro.
extinguishers. They
Hey.
didn't call 911.
I'm there to do a job. Okay, I'm there to call
Throw a lot of
commentary.
fluid on. Shh.
You ain't got time to go save the Killbilly. The damn.
What? This is TV. This is entertainment. What are you talking about?
But anyway, yeah. So it was at POR Wrestling, and POR, like, if anyone's listening and you're not familiar with POR, look up POR. Look up JJ Escobar. JJ Escobar is without a doubt the most insane human being I have ever met, which says a lot because I've met a lot of crazy people in my life, and
Right.
JJ takes the cake. And this is my second match with him. My first match ever was against JJ, and I threw a weed whacker at his nuts, a lot of glass, a lot of just not. And And so Vice, like the documentary channel, was coming with a piece on POR. They were super fascinated. They met the POR guys at the Gathering of the Juggalos, and they were like, "Yo, come out to our wrestling show, and we'll do a bunch of stunts and stuff." And so I was like, "Cool. Well, Vice is here. This is going to be seen by a lot of people. I really want to show out and do something really crazy." And so there's an RV called Peanuts Palace, and it's like here on the property. And so and it was an I Quit match. So and during the course of the match, JJ gets me, throws me into the RV, slams the door, and then starts lighting mortars and tossing it through the window. And so the mortars are exploding. And when the mortars are exploding, like it ended up setting fire to the inside, like the interior. There was a bunch of like foam interior to the RV, immediately caught on fire. So there's just big fire and black smoke. So I'm in this like RV and I just see a big cloud of black smoke. I'm just trying to cover my face so I don't breathe it in or be burned alive. And then so I was in there for a while. You know, people
Trying
are,
not to die.
you know, just trying not to die. That's my main goal in wrestling. A lot of that. So I was just in there, you know, trying to stay alive, and then everyone's just trying to get me out. There's people screaming, but they're pulling out like the foam. It's on fire. They have fire extinguishers, and then JJ and eventually pulls me out of the RV. Everyone's relieved that I'm not, you know, burned alive. And then JJ puts a mic to my face, and I deliver, which is I think is the most justified I Quit in the history of I Quit matches. So I was like, all right, man, you win this one.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try to kill me.
If something's gonna make you quit, I think that would probably be it. Yeah. I was one of the ones screaming, by the way.
Great. So yeah, that was fun. So I love
Oh,
it. That's on one of my shirt designs that I have. Like it's a picture of me holding a burning camper. So that's like a reference to that. So
And this is where you put the picture that I'm wearing that shirt.
Yeah.
Right here.
People of Diana wearing the shirt.
The full-blown advertisement. Deathmatch Wrestling Worldwide. Yes, all over.
Hell yeah.
well, hang on, because I literally just saw the picture that I sent you from one time where I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
And I'm
Wow.
sitting in this exact same chair right here. Anyways.
I like that you are showing a photo of you wearing a shirt of mine while you're wearing another shirt of mine.
In
Right?
the same chair. Freaking Inception, man.
You're a supportive man, and I appreciate you.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. And Diana always like wearing like my shirts because every time I post like you wearing a shirt, everybody's like, "Oh, cool! I got to buy a shirt now." So thank you.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for, man. Let's do it again. Let's get dirty next time. Let's get all crazy.
Let's play with blood, do something crazy.
Yeah, let's play with it.
As long as Diana's not bleeding. Come on now. Let's not get too crazy.
I'll take one for the team. I don't want to die. I don't want to be like gushing, what do you say, piss and blood. I don't want to do that, but you know.
So
little neck right there. I might have a hangnail.
There you go. She's cool.
Crazy. Didn't even cry.
I want to back up a minute. Earlier you were talking about who you trained with. Now we know you trained with Dr. Luther, and Luther actually showed up in last year's Rumble Jack, and you guys kind of got to collaborate a little bit inside a Southern Honor ring. But you also mentioned Jimmy Wang Yang. Now, what I want to talk to you about with Jimmy Wang Yang is that I remember, now I met you in 2018 when Southern Honor Wrestling first started, very first show. And ever since I've known you, it early on, it was kind of laughable. Like, oh, this would never happen. But you used to always say like, oh, it'd be so cool if we could get Jimmy Wang Yang at Southern Honor Wrestling. You've been saying it as long as I've known you. And we always kind of laugh like, oh, that would never happen. And then a couple of years ago, Rumble Jack, surprise appearance. Here's Jimmy Wang Yang, gets one of the biggest pops of the night. And he was even in the next year's Rumble Jack as well. But you mentioned training with him. Now, I'm just curious. Now, what's that like for you? Somebody who was a big fan, who was always like, oh, it'd be so cool if this guy was at Southern Honor Wrestling. And now he's one of your trainers. Like, how crazy is that for you?
And it's awesome. I really like Jimmy. He's just such like he has such a good mind for wrestling, and he has such a, you know, like he's a good teacher. So I really enjoy learning from Jimmy. It's funny how we met actually, because I've always been like, I've been a big fan of Jimmy Wang Yang for a long time. I've always put Jimmy over before I even like met him, you know. And there was one time I randomly picked up DDP. And for those that don't know, my day job is I do videos for Diamond Dallas Page. One time I was picking up Dallas from the airport and I took him back to his house. He's like, "Hey man, you want to come in, have like a beer on the back porch with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, awesome." And we're sitting back there, we're just like BSing about whatever. And for whatever reason, he tells me, the story about how when Yang used to live like in his neighborhood when Jimmy was a kid, and he would come over to Dallas's house for Halloween and stuff. And then I remember telling Dallas, I was just like, "Yeah, Jimmy Wang Yang. I think he was just like he's like one of my favorites. He was so underrated like in his time." And he's like, "Oh, you like Jimmy Wang Yang?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm a fan." And then Dallas just goes like, "All right, he's on the phone." And then I'm just like, "What else is this fan?" And Jimmy's like confused, so he's like, "Hello," and I'm like, "Hey, dude, you're awesome." I don't know, like it was just awkward. And so he ended up coming to Southern Honor, and I saw him backstage, and I was just like, "Hey, man, I don't know if you remember me, but Dallas made me like have this awkward conversation with you on the phone," and he popped. He thought it was funny, and like that was like Rumblejack, and he just kind of saw the way that I landed, like in that Rumblejack match where I got thrown over the top, and I kind of landed like on my neck on a bunch of mouse traps on the outside. So Jimmy was like, "Hey man, do you want to like come train with us?" And beforehand, he was like, "Hey, Jazzy," and he has a daughter, Jazzy Yang, who's like
Right.
also super dope. So she's been making, her rounds of getting her name out there. And so Jimmy was like, "Hey, Jazzy, you go chain with Nathan." And I didn't know chaining. I didn't know basic wrestling because I'm kind of like a stunt man and a daredevil. And I also didn't want to be like one of these deathmatch guys that had very minimal training or didn't know what they're doing, because I think that brings bad, name to death match, and that's like the stereotype and the thing I want to avoid, and kind of bring at least something better to the table as far as Southern death match wrestling goes. And there's a lot of people like you have your people like Tank and whatnot who are great at like just strong style wrestling or Southern style wrestling or all these other things, like really good wrestlers, but like I needed a better foundation than just being like a daredevil, because I wanted to
Right.
bring substance to what I was doing. And so Jimmy offered to train me, and and then yeah, so now like like I like to think I'm pretty decent at chaining. People don't see it a lot in my matches because I kind of known for more of the blood and guts thing, which is my style. But I do like just straight up wrestling matches, and I'm hoping or I really want to do some more regular matches to show people that I can actually wrestle. So
Right.
I think I want to gain the respect of people who are wrestlers, as well, obviously. So getting like a good reputation in deathmatch is one thing, but I also want to have a good uh, reputation as being a Southern wrestler as well.
So one of my favorite matches of yours was It's Still Here, the Killbilly versus Sunny Days,
Yeah.
and DDP was a guest on commentary. And even during that match, I think Diamond Dallas Page was a little shocked at how good it was and how crazy the crowd was for it. And I venture to say that I think that was one of the best matches on the card. And that's still here. That's one of our biggest shows of the year. But just going by like crowd reaction and what you guys did and how they reacted to you guys, uh, I say that was at the top of the card right there, even though it wasn't in the main event spot. But what was that like talking? Dallas gets in the ring, raises your hand afterwards. Did he talk to you afterwards? Talk to you and Dylan, or excuse me, you and Sonny, or anything afterwards, and about that match at all?
I mean, a little bit like Dallas knows that like he always tells people, and people ask him like, "Man, what I want to be a wrestler," and Dallas's response is always, "Well, can you breathe without being a wrestler?" And there's some people who are like, "Yeah, I can go without it." But for people like Sunny Days, for people like me, it's one of those things where it's like I need it. I have to do it. And I think Dallas sees that in both of us and sees our passion. So anytime he calls me about some project we're working on, and he's like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm driving up to Jersey to do the show." And he's like, "Ah, you're living the dream." So even though he himself is probably not the biggest deathmatch fan, he is supportive of me as a person, and me and Dylan are like his pseudo sons, like he
Yeah.
He's very supportive of us. So having him there and him doing commentary for that match against Sunny Days was very special to me. It's one of the most special moments, not just in wrestling, but in life in general. There were some pretty funny moments, like him on commentary, where he was kind of surprised, I guess, at my ability. There was only one part where he's like, "Wow, Nathan actually throws some pretty good punches." Like a lot of like, I'm like, "Thanks, man." There was like one part where he was like, "Nathan used to be movie star handsome. Swear to God." I'm like, "Thanks, dude." Yeah.
Used to be. Yeah.
Like, what happened? Like, yeah, I don't know. So, not a DDP anymore, I guess.
Oh man, good
I love
stuff.
that
Well,
match. It's great.
all right. Well, we talked a little bit about the Rumble Jack. Of course, Rumble Jack coming up in a couple of weeks, August 9th at the Action Building, the 6th annual. And my mind's a little blown because before we got on with you this evening, earlier today, we saw the announcement on SHW's social media pages that this year, we thought last year was going to be the biggest ever at 35 entrants, but it was announced today 40 entrants in the Rumble Jack, biggest Rumble Jack ever. And Diana, you and I were texting earlier. I said, this is going to be, as if it wasn't chaotic enough already, this is just going to be total chaos. And it's already chaos with 30 or 35. Now we're going 40. We're upping the ante a little bit. And real quick, before I ask you this question, let me just run down the list of people that have been announced that we know of thus far. And we may hear a few more before August 9th, or we may not. We may just have a bunch of surprises waiting on us. I know there's going to be a few surprises because there always is. But so far, here's who we know officially. Those punks from Exotic Youth, Zach Mosley, Cornelius Pepperbottom, entering at number 1 and number 2. We've got Darian Bankston, CT Keys, Jaden Newman, Nick Halen, Chip Day, Kyle Matthews, Cody Fluffman, The Kenway, Murder One, Joe Black, Hunter James, Sal Renaro, Rob Killjoy, and Alexander Lev have all been announced as official entrants. And of course, our guest tonight, the Killbilly Nathan Mowery. I always like to look at, kind of use this comparison in WWE when they have the Royal Rumble. Kofi Kingston was always known for some sort of crazy way to not get eliminated. He saves himself in all these crazy different fashions. At Southern Honor Wrestling, we have the Rumble Jack, and we're known for having the Killbilly Nathan Mowery always pull off some insane stunt that nobody sees coming. Now, I know you can't give too much away, but I mean, let's be honest. You got to be coming up with something, right?
Oh yeah, I got so many things. I was
So
like,
many things.
like I kept telling Dylan ideas, and he's like, "You can't do that." So now I just don't want to tell him what I would plan on doing. So he was just like, "Don't do that," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So now I'm in the state of mind of forgiveness is better than permission.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I definitely want to do that. I do feel like I am the Kofi Kingston of dumbassery when it comes to like Jack, So I'm excited, but that's 39 people, and 39 people I get to hack and slash and throw over the top rope, and they bleed out on the ground. It's going to be great. I don't care who they are. Line them up. I'm cutting them down. Nathan Mowery is going to win the Rumble Jack.
He's going through with a bushwhacker and a machete and just cutting them down.
Hey, that's the thing. The Rumble Jack is no rules, and no DQ means no DQ.
This is true. This is true.
Now,
Stay in my corner so I don't get no blood splatter on my outfit.
Yeah. Put splash zone if you can.
Yeah.
We'll make sure the front row is well aware.
Perfect. We'll need to start.
Maybe we should give out like those plastic sheets so you can like.
Yeah. Give the pot. Yeah. Make Killbilly ponchos. That's a
great idea.
That's a good
You
merch
should sell
idea.
those. You should sell those on your table. Killbilly ponchos. Front row seats. You get all the excitement, but you don't have to take none of the blood and germs home with you.
Now, is our audience too young to get a Gallagher reference? If I say a Gallagher reference, he used to hit the watermelons.
Some people may be too young, Brandon.
Nathan, do you get that reference? Gallagher used to hit the watermelons and it would go all over.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So in your case, it would be the Killbilly poncho, and you'd warn people in the front row that you might get splattered with blood.
And instead of I'll be splitting skulls, so it'll be great.
So
Yeah, no watermelons here, just brains.
So of the names that I listed, those are the ones we know for sure that have already been announced. Anybody on that list stick out, or like you mentioned before, it doesn't matter. Just you'll go after whoever.
Man, I'm not a respecter of persons. These hands rated E for everyone. Whoever wants something like there's a lot of people in there that I really do respect. There's a lot of guys that I really look up to and respect that are in this match, and it's cool to even have interaction with them. But that's the thing too, where it's like, you can only admire somebody for so much. At some point, you got to kind of make a name for yourself. And if somebody's being put in front of me, I have to do what I got to do. So there's a lot of people in there that I really dig, and there's a lot of people that I don't. And I think it's going to be a lot more clear as the match unfolds who is who in my mind. So all I know is that talking to the general manager, Jake the Snake, and this is something I mentioned in my promo, that there's a spot saved for somebody from the world of hardcore, from the world of deathmatch, from the world of ultra violence. And so there's been a few people that have considered, but they've stepped down, and I don't blame them. I'd be scared to get in the ring with me too. But who knows? Who knows who will show up? Maybe there will be people from the deathmatch world. Maybe they won't be. Maybe I'll be the only person for that world. But I can only guarantee one thing, is that I will provide a spectacle as I always do. But this time I'm winning. Because this is the Nathan from 4 years ago that wasn't trained. This is the Nathan that's been up and down the East Coast, that's been flown out to places. I got a lot more experience under my belt, and these boys don't know that. So I'm really looking forward to that match to show people how much I've grown since the last time they've seen me.
Well, in that vein, Nathan, what would it mean for you to win the Rumble Jack and have that title shot against Judas or against Gunnar Miller? Who knows? Because they do have that last man standing match that night.
That's true. I think, for me, that would just mean the world. Because I think, I could have easily, just walked, tried to get some kind of shot. But for me, I really want to earn it. And I feel like being outlasting 39 other people in that match, then that's showing everybody that I've earned it. So at that point, it would be undeniable. And I think that would just really prove to myself and to other people what I'm capable of doing. And so I'm really excited. And whether it be Judas or Cyrus or whoever the hell. And that's the thing, they may be big, they may be strong, but for me, I'm very, very violent. You see, the most violent and dominant men in human history were not bodybuilders or giants. They were people like me. So I think that's something that people need to consider moving forward.
Absolutely. Everybody believes red, right?
Oh, yeah. We'll see what happens.
I got chills. August 9th.
I love it.
Rumble Jack, the 6th annual Rumble Jack, coming to the Action Building in Canton, Georgia. I absolutely cannot wait. It is our biggest and most unpredictable night every single year. You never know who's going to show up. We say that at every show, but especially at the Rumble Jack. And of course, the Killbilly will be bringing toys with him to the ring, as he is an official entrant in this year's Rumble Jack. And you never know what he might do inside the Rumble Jack. So it's going to be crazy.
I'm such a fan. I'm such a fan of the Killbilly. I swear. You and Michaela are both my favorite people, but I am such a fan. You have opened my eyes to a lot of things in this deathmatch world, and I respect you and doing what you love and how you doing it and following everything you want to do. But good God, it freaks me. I'm such a fan. I am such a fan. Get bloody. Let's get gutty. Ooh, let's do it.
You know it. We love you, but stay safe. And before we let you go, before we wrap up the show, any final words to the fans out there heading in to August 9th at the Rumble Jack?
Well, I think if you want to get to know me, go over to my YouTube page. Just type in Nathan Mowery. You guys know how to find things on the internet.
Yep.
Type in my name, things will show up. You'll see a lot of blood. Some of it might be censored. Some of it you have to be 18 to even watch on YouTube. So just go ahead and watch it. Get familiar with what I bring to the table. And again, the only thing that I can promise is that I'm going to bring a spectacle with me. And whether it's my blood or other people's blood shall be shed. And they'll be hacked and slashed and left all over Canton, Georgia. And that's my favorite thing. when I look out to the crowd and see the faces of children and people and parents shocked and their jaws dropped and they're uncomfortable, and I like to make their soul squirm just a little bit. So that's what I want to do. That's what makes me the most happy. That's what makes me feel most alive. So that is what I plan to do when I enter the Rumble, Jack. 39 people getting their heads split by a machete, by a hacksaw, by the Killbilly Nathan Mowery. So I'll see you sweethearts then.
Oh, you're so twisted.
Oh man, this is absolutely wild. August 9th, our biggest show, one of our biggest shows of the year, the most unpredictable, like I mentioned, and we cannot wait to see you there. Tickets will be available at the door starting at 5 p.m. Doors open at 7, bell time at 8. Go ahead and make your plans now. If you already have plans for August 9th, drop them, change them, and come see us in Canton, Georgia at the Action Building. Well, Killbilly, thank you again for joining us on the show. We cannot wait to see you on August 9th. And until then, this has been
SHW.
This is our wrestling. Long live the Killbilly.